Hello guys, this is Blessy and I'll be reporting the last part of chapter 8, and to start with, that will be with reactions to the use of power. Humans, like many social species, are willing to accept guidance from other members of their group. However, in some cases, power does not include power with people and over people, but also power against people. Power holders can influence, sometimes dramatically, the outcomes of those who have little power, prompting them to do things they would rather not. How do people respond behaviorally, cognitively, and emotionally when the directives of authorities conflict with the goals they have set for themselves? Now, those questions will be answered along the video. Reactions to hard influence tactics. Approach or inhibition theory suggests that individuals who find themselves without power relative to others avoid rather than approach. They do not only lack resources, but they are dependent on others for the resources that they need. They therefore tend to display more negative effect, they are sensitive to threats and punishment, and they follow closely the dictates of the norms of the group. In general, however, these effects of power are more pronounced when the power holder uses hard influence methods such as punishment, sanctions, and non-personal rewards, rather than soft influence methods such as personal rewards and referent power. Harsh tactics generate a range of negative emotions including hostility, depression, fear, and anger, whereas those influenced by softer methods tend to reciprocate with cooperation. Group members are also more likely to resist an authority who uses coercive influence methods and asks the group members to carry out unpleasant assignments. This resistance may cause the power holder to turn to even more negative forms of influence. Hence, although coercive power holders may be successful in initial encounters, influence becomes more difficult in successive meetings as the group's anger and resistance to pressure grow. Groups will, however, tolerate the use of coercive methods when the group is successful, the leader is trusted, and the use of such tactics is justified by the group's norms. Coercion and conflict. The conflict created by coercive influence can disrupt the entire group's functioning. Studies of classrooms, for example, indicate that many teachers rely heavily on coercion, but these methods cause rather than solve disciplinary problem. Coercive tactics, such as physical punishment, displays of anger, and shouting, not only fail to change the target student's behavior, but also lead to negative changes in the classroom's atmosphere. When misbehaving students are severely reprimanded, other students often become more disruptive and uninterested in their schoolwork, and negative, inappropriate social activity spreads from the trouble spot throughout the classroom. This disruptive contagion or ripple effect is especially strong when the reprimanded students are powerful members of the classroom status structure or when commands by teachers are vague and ambiguous. Resistance and rebellion. In some cases, group members may rebel against an authority who they consider to be unfair, incompetent, or both. They may escape the power holder's region of control or apply influence in return. Members contend against those in power as individuals, particularly when they feel that others in the group have more power than they do. But when members feel a sense of shared identity with the other low-power members of the group, they are more likely to join with them in a revolutionary coalition that opposes the power holder. Destructive obedience. In both the Milgram experiment and at Jonestown, power led to destructive obedience as group members failed to question the authorities' motivation, interpretations, and orders. Milgram's concept of agentic shift, noted earlier in the chapter, maintained that individuals who feel powerless also feel they're not responsible for their own actions. They feel responsibility to the authority but no responsibility for the content of the actions that the authority prescribes. Obedient individuals' claims of reduced responsibility may be more than self-serving attempts to avoid blame for following rather than resisting a malevolent leader. Social psychologist Philip Zimbardo and his colleagues also documented the consequences of coercive authority in their well-known Stanford Prison Study. Zimbardo, seeking to simulate a prison environment, randomly assigned male student volunteers to the role of prison guard or prisoner. The study was scheduled to run for 2 weeks, but was ended early due to the extreme reaction of the subjects. The prisoners seemed literally to become prisoners. Although some rebelled, the majority became withdrawn and depressed. The guards also became increasingly tyrannical and arbitrary in the control of the prisoners. Some of their actions crossed the line between intimidation and abuse. They threatened the prisoners with physical injury, ran hooded prisoners into walls as they walked them to the bathroom at night, and forced them to engage in feigned sexual activities. Zimbardo himself sank deeply into the role of superintendent, worrying over possible prison breaks and autocratically controlling visiting procedures. Zimbardo concluded that the participants were overwhelmed by the power of the situation. All of the participants had a general idea of the power differences between the role of a prisoner and the role of a guard. As the study progressed, to be a guard meant controlling all aspects of the prison and protecting this control with force if necessary. Prisoners, on the other hand, were supposed to accept this control and try to get through the experience as easily as possible by obeying all the prison's rules. Participants who refused to obey these norms were pressured by the other participants to bring their behavior back in the line. Nonconformity was not tolerated. Zimbardo concluded that his study made it evident that initially our guards were good apples, some of whom became soured over time by powerful situational forces. Zimbardo calls the tendency for people to be corrupted by negative group environment the Lucifer effect. Lucifer effect is the transformation of benign individuals into morally corrupt individuals by powerful but malevolent social situations, named for the biblical character Lucifer, an angel who fell from grace and was transformed into Satan. Who is responsible? Obedience is not a reflection of the nature of the individuals in the group, but an indication of the power of the group itself. By controlling key bases of power, using power tactics, and exploiting the nature of the subordinate authority relationship, authorities exert great influence on group members. As John Darley explained, many evil actions are not the volitional products of individual evildoers. Instead, they are some sense societal products, in which a complex series of social forces interact to cause individuals to commit multiple acts of stunning evil.